Hi. As I promised, I'm providing you with a video in English on why are we moving forward with Concordance as the way or means of changing zoning in two key areas of our town, the western entry to Deux-Montagnes, as well as the Grumway train station and Oka Road. Essentially, I'll try to keep this shorter than I did in the other video, but essentially we're looking at this as emergency measures. This is, if we look at our need for creating value and in terms of our property values and increasing our property values globally, we have no choice but to look at finding ways of increasing that to lower the tax burden on the rest of the population. I see this as urgent, and we need to act real quickly. Just to go over a little bit of the history, as the town developed over the say from the 90s from 1990 to the year 2000, where our population nearly doubled. We developed primarily with first home buyer type of homes. We elected to not move forward with an industrial park, and we have very little of a commercial offering that's available, which is taxed at a higher rate. As such, we really are not in a position to be able at this point now, 13 years later, since the turn of the century, to we really don't have that solid taxation base to move forward on, and that really puts us in a unique situation in the Montreal metropolitan community. This is why we need to act and act quickly. Frankly, I could argue that it would have been great to see this in place even 1 or 2 years ago, but our administration chose the route of quite substantial consultation with the population. First with our Citizen Summit, followed by the Citizen Advisory Committees, and finally with our urban plan that was introduced last year, which has led to what we're doing right now with the special planning programs and or PPUs, as the French acronym for it is, and with what we're doing. I think it's critical that we move forward. If just to look, for example, with the western entry and the vacant lot between 27th and 28th Avenue and Oka Road, on the south side of Oka Road. If we were to just maintain the current zoning on that property, we're talking about 8 single-family dwellings. Probably will be able to generate between $30,000 and $35,000 a year in tax revenue from those properties. On if we were to have what we're proposing there, which is townhouses, maximum 3 stories, 30 to 35 doors, anywhere between $90,000 to $100,000 in new revenues. That $70,000 difference between one one project and the other is that's 7,000 doors in this town. We're talking about $10 a home, and that's reoccurring savings. That's $10 less that we're going to have to charge for the same amount of services to the rest of the population. So it takes a bunch of $10 and a $5 and $2 per year per tax bill to bring our ability to tax the citizen under control. And so at the end of the day, I think what we've done there, particularly with the western entry, was to seriously consider the environment and do our best to have a project which could generate those significant revenues while respecting the neighbors. And frankly, historically that property had a 3-story building, a very large 3-story building on that property. And so what we've moved forward with is a 3-story building with not intense density at all, but recognizing that along the western entry to Deux-Montagnes on Oka Road, there are many multi-family dwellings on that stretch of road right up to 20th Avenue. So we don't feel at all that in fact that there's any issues. It certainly integrates well with Oka Road. And frankly, one statement that I made in my French video last weekend was that If we were to allow single-family dwellings on an empty lot in this town, on a large empty lot such as that, it would be extremely, in my view, irresponsible as a city councillor, given the financial needs of our town, to create new value, new wealth, I guess is the proper term, for our town. It would be absolutely irresponsible if we move forward and considered single-family dwellings on that open lot. And frankly, which is also why we're using the special planning program for the western entry of town to consider the property across the street, which belongs to the Nuns, and frankly have no intention, as far as we know, in the short term of selling. But if they want to create some revenues for them, at least we've laid out the framework, the regulatory framework, for a promoter to perhaps inject some cash into their organization, and then in return we would have some property that then can be developed, and we can be developed in a very intelligent way. So that's it. I mean, I think what I just wanted to make sure that the people understood is that we're not haphazardly moving forward. We need to move forward quickly. Certainly a lot of the disinformation that's been spread out by the groups, primarily the group focused on the empty lot around the 27th, 28th Avenue, Anoka Road area, the disinformation that's being shared with the population, that clearly, people mobilize for, generally when you're against something, you mobilize, and that's what we've been seeing. And at the end of the day, we've been elected to represent the whole interests of all the citizens of Deux-Montagnes, and this is why we take these measures, that we have a right to do this once every 5 years, by revisiting the urban plan. When you vote in November, you'll be voting for a council who will then have an opportunity at the end of their mandate to change the urban plan and to modify it. That's their right. When you're voting every 4 years, you're voting for the vision of that mayor and those councillors, and that they have the right, if they so choose, to invoke that. And this is what we've done. We need to take care of our town. I'm born and raised here. I've been here 42 out of my 44 years on this planet, and I want Deux-Montagnes to stay the way it is. To hear the spokesperson for the 28th Avenue group talk about how we're spending too much on community and sports groups. It's just distasteful, and that's not what Deux-Montagnes is all about. This is what Deux-Montagnes is all about. I want Two-Mo to remain a city where children can be raised, the families can be raised, a great support from the community. That's what Two Mountains is all about. And if we my hope is that the mayor or the candidate that comes into power in November 3rd of this year, my hope is that they will continue to recognize the massive contribution of community and social and cultural groups in this town, and ensure that if there's any sort of cost controls that are put in place, that this isn't touched, because this, in effect, these groups are Deux-Montagnes. Anyways, that's my thoughts. A little different, similar but different than what I said in French, but I just wanted to share that with everyone. If you, again, please leave comments, either leave comments on the YouTube page or on my Facebook page, or even on Twitter, where all of this will appear. Thank you very much.